It's 7 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. And we'll start by calling roll, and it looks like everybody at the town board is here. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes from the February 10th meeting?
Yes,
Okay, any additions or corrections from anybody?
there's a couple.
Okay,
Under Commissioner's Report, on the fire department, the second line says GRAND for a carport, it should be a grant.
Yeah, well, the spell check doesn't
Yeah, I
say
know,
that that's
but-
spelled wrong.
But grant, and then in the, next to it, the fire truck is done. The painting of the fire truck is done or finished or whatever. Was the
I didn't do
painting.
that one.
is there,
And then on town hall, an application for PHCA for the melodrama instead of Fro. And that's basically all that I've got.
I found some more just like, typos and
Yeah.
stuff in there. So you can just, it's just little stuff, nothing big, really, I don't think.
Let's motion to approve as corrected.
I
I
would
have a couple things here. Maybe I'm just don't understand, but under the paragraph on page 2, discuss loose dogs in town, we need to authorize Attorney McDonald to logistical presentation.
Oh, yeah.
What does that mean?
I just wrote down what was said.
Logistical
Maybe
presentation?
he was gonna make a presentation
that
on the
was-
logistics of getting a civil.
that
Of a
was,
court.
that was
Yeah.
kind of a poor thing to put on there, because it started as talking about dogs, but what it actually came down to was enforcement, is could we actually enforce
That's
it?
actually word for word what was said.
Yes, and we've,
Okay.
and we've kind
It's
of
the
got that,
logistics of getting a court.
and we've got that on the agenda for this evening. But I should have put
The
something
way
more.
you worded it, logistical
Yes, it
presentation.
was kind of
It was
worded
at
poorly.
word for word though, so.
Yeah, it should have been put on the agenda like that, but it did.
And then 2 lines down, I don't know what PRN stands for.
As necessary. It's a shorthand for as necessary.
As necessary, okay. As necessary, okay.
You ever gotten a script from a doctor
It says PRN.
Oh,
No, I
yes.
don't.
when you have a pill that you take when you need to?
Anything else?
Yeah.
I got too many to talk about, so I'm
Okay.
gonna go on. The whole paragraph.
Are there,
Not worth it,
are there
probably.
any more additions or corrections? Any more additions or corrections?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch on the short-term rental part. It's mostly,
I disagree with on line 4, we need to make the rules needed to monitor short-term rentals, I don't.
okay, and I write down
And the
what
next sentence
people
says there are no
say.
definitions in the zoning law.
Okay, I am just writing down what people say. It's not my,
Okay, there are no definitions in the zoning law.
so it says, make the rules needed to monitor short-term rentals, no definitions in zoning law. This is what someone has said,
Okay,
and I'm just writing down what someone has said. Whether it's truth or not, I don't know, but it was what was said.
okay.
Did you just correct team, TEM to term?
I missed
At
that.
the end of the third one. Monitor short,
Yeah, oh, Tim, yeah.
Tim.
I knew that. That was it. Susie wants to put in protect residential property owners. Just to make it clarify it, or?
Yeah.
Now, do we change it, or just because it's not what was said? I mean,
I think that's what we were discussing at the time. Was protecting,
because I just wrote down area to protect property owners, which is,
and I just think that it was about, it was regarding residential when we talked about it, but, you know, I don't have a tape or anything, so I don't know.
I don't know what you guys want to do. I mean, because do we make the
Do you
change?
wanna have people look at do you have your minutes and figure out where it is and tell them where it is and see if they think it should be residential?
Well, we just need to write down what was said versus what we think it was.
Okay.
I think that's the rules.
Okay.
All the is and ares,
Those, yeah, those. are
that's not a
big, but the
big,
extra
but
word.
extra words, I just don't think.
Yeah, I just thought that's what we were.
'Cause I was writing fast and I don't have any, it's not like I was confused or something in that section.
Right.
Have we got the changes written down?
There's a lot. I mean, just like is and ours.
And if you've got all the changes
Yeah,
that need
let's-
to be done,
yeah.
written down, we
I'll
can
just-
go, we
I
can
won't
go
change
ahead
anything
and
but
vote
the
on it.
is and ours.
Okay.
I'll see what that does.
Okay, well, if there's no more additions or corrections, I would ask for a motion in a second to approve the minutes as corrected.
Before you take that vote, may I throw in one more?
Sure.
A few more things.
Sure.
On the top of page 2 of 3, Judge Patrick ordered
Yes, I
blank.
did not know, I didn't get it all written down, and so I was hoping you would just say, oh, it needs to be this.
It needs to be ordered, plaintiff to file a motion to dismiss.
Okay, I didn't know.
And on the same page, paragraph 4, says zoning code needs written. And then, just fix the top.
Okay. Yeah, I know, and that's why I put it as big line, because I was like, okay, he said something, I didn't get all the words down. Plaintiff, 2 Fs?
Yes.
Okay, have we got everything written down? Okay, I'd like to call for a motion and a second to approve the minutes as corrected.
I'll move that the minutes be approved.
Okay, got a motion from Susie, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I got a second from Sean. All in favor of approving the minutes as corrected, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we got the minutes corrected. Anything in the clerk's report?
Yes, the audit. I sent out an email earlier this month. When I went to go do the audit exemption, I realized that we had our expenditures and our income was over $100,000, and that's a joint, combined amount. So they were both less, but it went to like $110,000. So therefore, we'd have to do a long form exemption that has to be filled out by an auditor, CPA person. So therefore, it has to be done by March 31st. We can't get it done. We just got our last income for 2014, and the auditor's inventor. So I was just gonna turn in the books for an audit.
We're gonna have to do an audit.
We're gonna have to do an
Okay,
audit.
well,
That's what it boils down
Yeah.
to, which is not bad. I mean, I'd rather
Okay.
have an audit done anyway, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was the long version.
Okay, is there anything else on the clerk's report?
No.
Okay, we'll go down to the treasurer's report.
On the treasurer's report, you'll see that we got a franchise fee, or we have a franchise agreement with Gunnison County Electric. And we received a check for $1,000 something. And generally, we were getting a check for like $2,000, but what they're doing now is our bill, they've taken it down $238 a month, and they're subtracting that from the franchise agreement, and we get whatever's left. So all the street lights are being paid for by the franchise agreement, is basically, and all we pay for is the town hall. And we get some extra, so.
Are there any questions on any line item of the treasurer's report? If there aren't any questions, I would like to ask for a motion and a second to approve the February disbursements.
You make a motion to approve the February disbursement?
I got a motion from Matt, do I have a second? I have a second from Cindy. All in favor of approving the disbursements for February, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, down to the mayor's report. I guess all that I really had is that the April meeting will probably be here, and maybe in May the weather will be a little bit warmer, and we can go back to the town hall and maybe go upstairs. So that's what I got planned. Anyway, and there was a mayor-manager meeting this last Thursday. I was unable to attend, and I did ask Matt to attend in my place. Was anything of note going on?
It was in Mount Crescent Butte, and the program was on the One Valley Prosperity Project.
Okay.
And Frank was not there to report on the water, but George Sibley was there and said the latest storm brought it up to the mid-90s.
Okay.
But I looked at the report yesterday, and it was 84. The Gunnison Basin was 84%.
I've never seen it in the 90s recently, only like 87s.
Yeah, he said some. He sort of said it loosely, like some of the areas were in the mid-90s. So I think he was trying to make it sound.
Make it sound better.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, Frank was not there.
Okay. Anything under town attorney's report?
Yes, there was a Colorado Open Records request a couple weeks ago, and we responded to that, but I would like to propose at the next meeting that the town adopt some type of a policy in terms of handling open records requests. The timetables are pretty challenging. You're supposed to have the response within 3 days. And given that this is a town without any full-time staff, it creates some significant logistical challenges. And I know that the county of Gunnison does have a specific policy in place, and I intend, with the board's approval, to look at that and see what would be appropriate to consider for adoption by the town of Pitkin. But
Okay.
with that being said, there's got to be, I think there should be something in place.
Because it's still kind of ongoing.
Well, you could have another core request tomorrow.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, well, there's another request.
Well, let's see.
The same
Put it
person.
two.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, is that all under town attorney? That's not on the agenda? Okay. We're down to public comments from the town council to the town council. I did receive a couple notes. Juan?
Evening, my name's Juan Serrato. For those of you who don't know me, I know most of you guys here. I live 413 Main Street, right next to the post office. My wife Juliet, you guys probably know her as well. Two questions or two items, mostly for clarification. I think I know the answer, but I haven't been able to find a real definite answer. My wife and I sent a letter via both email and postal service pertaining to the VRBO issue. My question is not about the VRBO issue, but the handling of the letter itself. I'm well aware that the letter was given to Mr. Sharpton prior to the zoning board meeting, but the letter was addressed to the zoning board, Mr. Mayor, and the entire set of trustees. So I'd like to know if our letter was received and read by the trustees and Mr. Mayor. Do you have the letters?
I
or-
have, is it the one that I just got?
No, you did just get it,
No.
but there was also an emailed one, I thought.
Well,
we
yes.
sent out to everybody.
Right,
I've gotten
when
several-
this,
I've gotten several, you see, and I don't know
I
which
think it was the
one
email
that you
one.
mean, because I've gotten
There's
several.
only one that I'm aware of that we wrote together. And
But it was
because there was some
emailed and it
confusion
was-
about whether emails were gonna be accepted or not initially,
So we mailed it.
so we mailed it and sent it via email to ensure that it went.
Yes, you
Yes,
did
I
get
got
that.
it emailed to
Okay.
everybody.
All right. For future reference, I'd like to ask, who is the custodian of letters that are sent to the town and
I
or
get all
mayor
the
and zoning board?
letters. I get all the mail.
So you get all the mail?
I get all the mail.
Okay, that's my question about letters. My second area of question might be addressed mostly towards Mr. Sharpton, because I understand there was some discussion about Rule 43 pertaining to septics. Just for the point of clarification, because at the zoning board meeting, I thought you said that the town trustees were actually also serving as the Board of Public Health. Is that correct or not?
That is correct.
So all members of the trustees are considered part of the Board of Public Health in
The board
reference?
as a whole, right?
The board as a
James?
whole?
The board as a
Yes.
whole.
Okay.
It's the agency. It is the agency.
Okay. With reference to that, I believe you made a comment to the effect of our last proposed local regulations that were supposed to be in compliance with Rule 43 was rejected by the state of Colorado's, I believe it's the Water Authority, I'm not sure the technical name. Do you know how much longer we have to obtain or submit compliant rules before they exercise their right to supersede our authority as a town and implement their own rules?
It's, the exact time has never been set that we're working with them. And they realize, it took Gunnison County over a year to do theirs, and they're willing to work with us to get it. It's just gonna take time, and because of this short-term rental stuff, that kinda got put back on hold.
I understand. I mean, when you read the law, it says that our time has come and gone almost
Yeah.
almost a year ago.
Yeah.
So I was just curious if there's been any communication to the effect of how much longer we have.
Well, we've got what it takes. Whatever it takes, they're gonna work with us. That's.
Okay, so we don't have a sword hanging over our
No,
head
we
in
don't.
town or anything like that.
We don't.
I just would like to add that when we met with Gunnison, that was when we first found out we were
Right.
supposed to do it, because actually we're designed to be under Gunnison, but Gunnison doesn't want us. So-
Gunnison County,
Yeah,
correct?
Gunnison County does not want us, so we are back to, I mean, we did never go to them, we just found out they didn't want us, but we needed to come back, and that was what, maybe September or so?
It's later than that.
It was just maybe 3-4 months ago that we found out, we had a meeting with us three, and found out that we needed to come up with this document, so James tried to do what he thought would do it, and it didn't do it, so we have to keep, working on it, and like.
Can you elaborate at all as why Gunnison County doesn't want us?
I can give you a yes, the reason.
I'm well aware of that.
The reason that I've been keeping records on our septic system since 1995 is because at that time, the sanitarian said he didn't want to touch us because we were too dense, that our lots are, 2, 3, 4 lots, sometimes 6, 8, and the county requires an acre. And he did not think that with our density of population that he wanted to be in any way responsible for us. So that's why we have stricter regulations than the rest of the county on inspections and pumping and such.
All right,
Okay,
thank you very much.
okay, thank you. And I also got a note from Brad Wick.
I found it very interesting in all this short-term rental discussion.
Shouldn't this be handled, are we gonna be talking about short-term rentals? Oh, okay, then go ahead.
Okay. In all this discussion about it, the statement was made to me about how much money the town makes from short-term rentals. And so I decided I'll call the county and find out how much we actually gain in sales tax revenue. We have our 3%, plus we get a 0.5% of the county's 1%. So we get half of the county's and we get our 3%. So I looked on some websites to see where the pricing of these rentals are in town. And I built a model that stated, take the high and low in the rental, take the average. Figure we rent it for about 20 weeks a year in the summer. And then figure maybe the model that there's a 75% occupancy. But try to figure out exactly what is the town's revenue from a short-term rental. The actual estimate of what the rental brings in is about $662. If you say that the people will come to town and maybe spend another $400 in that week, you could add another $280. So in a year, a short-term rental brings in to the town about $942 a year. Now this is what I could go figure out. And I asked Nancy for some 2014 actual data as to what the town's revenue was. And the entire town's revenue, retail activity last year from the sales tax number would indicate there's about $639,000 in sales activity in the town. So if you take a perspective and say if the town raised its sales tax rate 1%, go from 3 to 4, you would increase the town revenue almost $6,400. So I just wanted, as we get into this, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it later, but I wanted you to have an estimate of what the retail addition, the addition in sales tax was to the town. As you guys listen and have to make a decision, I'm sure, or talk about it. But this is what I collected and what I put together. And if you got any questions about it, I'd be glad to answer it. It's just for your reference. No other comment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time and research. Okay, we'll go down to the commissioner and community reports. Anything on the building? No. Okay. Zoning? No. Fire department?
No.
Parks and Rec? Don't think so. Environmental health?
I spent some time getting together the information of the records, requested in the open records.
Okay. Okay. Streets?
No,
No. Ditches?
No.
No. Cemetery?
I had a request come through Lois, and I'm just working on a research for a lady from a 20-year-old man who died in the 1800s.
In the Vulcan mine. I found out he died in the Vulcan mine.
In the mine. Okay.
In the
Died
18,
Do you remember the year 1880 something?
I just read 1880.
Yeah,
I
1880s.
might still have it on the computer. I can send it to you.
Okay. PHCA? Anything? Okay.
Hi.
Okay.
My name's Rachel New. I'm the winter trustee of the Newcomb Center. And all of the PHCA board members are, to my knowledge, Tucson residents. Maybe not?
all the PhD members or board?
Board members.
I think so. I think so.
Anyway, on behalf of everybody in town, I wanted to thank Town of Pitkin for pitching in on the propane bill for this building. It's not super efficient and it guzzles it. So, yeah, it's nice to have it. It's nice to sit here with all of you guys. We would have never fit in the town hall. And we'll put some numbers together kind of towards spring and see how we did this year and maybe look on to next year. But it's been used multiple times a month for very different things, and many of those activities don't even involve heat. Like tonight, there's no heat on in here except the kitchen. So anyway, just want to say thank you to the town.
Okay, thank you. Anything on town hall?
Yeah, I got 3 things.
Okay,
First thing is Rachel New has agreed to be the town hall assistant to
okay,
me. So if that's okay with you guys, I would like to have her as my assistant.
that would be good.
Okay. The second thing is Gunnison Glass. Mike from Gunnison Glass has submitted the estimate for the repairs to the bullet holes in the window in the town hall. And he'll be doing that work this week, I believe. The third thing is I had somebody lined up for the floors, to repoly the floors. We're going to push it back till June because Trustee Mikowski told me I have to put it out for a bid. So I just need a copy of the rules that shows me how to do that so I can do that right.
I don't know if we have rules, we need rules.
We'd have to
written down.
we'd have to go to the state site and find the rules, so we can look it up.
You guys
You
can look it
remind
up.
me.
Because I just want to do it right and make sure it's fair or whatever.
Okay, we will come up with some kind of official rules.
Okay, I just need to do it before June if possible.
Okay. Jesse, did you want?
What's this bullet hole stuff?
It's not a bullet hole.
It happened in 18.
Oh,
Okay, all right, thank you. That answered my question.
Mike from Gunnison Glass actually did confirm that they are bullet holes. It's 3 bullet holes,
Okay.
probably from BB gun. He's not saying it's
Yeah.
an old thing. He's saying it's kids probably relatively recently. So
Okay. Okay, well, thank you. Okay, we will go down to, old business, anything on the town restroom?
No.
Okay.
Forest Service is still having their private meetings about,
Still haven't come up with anything yet.
correct, yeah.
Okay, well, let's don't push them, let's just hope that they're nice to us.
Yeah, they're still on our side, I think, but
Okay, yeah.
it takes them a while with them, of course.
Okay. Okay, the next item of business is to discuss setting, we're on new business now.
1 second.
Oh, yes.
I noticed there's underneath the commissioner community reports, it says the Pitkin Town Board may have to go into executive session to
That's
do not. do
just a
that.
legal thing, that's just,
But we don't have to do
no,
that.
that's just in case something comes up, that's just a legal thing that I have to step on there. All right, under new business, discuss setting up a municipal court for the town of Pitkin, and I'll turn that over to the attorney.
Okay, so I wrote the Board of Trustees a very brief memo. I would direct your attention first to what's been pre-marked as Exhibit A, and that's the statute that says that a municipal governing body of each city or town shall create a municipal court to hear and try all alleged violations of ordinance provisions of such city or town. The second attachment is CRS 13-10-103, which governs applicability. And in essence, it says certain things, including incarceration of children, parents and guardians, for any charge against a child underneath the age of 18, the payment procedure for municipal judges, jury right for petty offenses, and the appellate procedures and the rules of procedure for municipal courts are things that cannot be, in essence, ignored or superseded by charter ordinance. And the reason I provide that to you is that one can at least make a good faith argument that based upon the applicability section that at least there's the argument that a town may say, now we don't want to have a municipal court because that specific provision was not referenced within the applicability section. Now that being said, it creates a conundrum in that a number of ordinances, including the zoning contains specific language either addressing criminal sanctions, be it misdemeanors or petty offenses, or reference to a municipal court. So your choices are to either create a municipal court or to clean up every single one of your ordinances to delete reference to any criminal charges and or the municipal court. As if you look at the bottom of or the top of page 2 of my note, I'm certainly happy to discuss these issues now, but I think that at some level we're talking about a fair number of logistical issues, and I would suggest that a work session be scheduled to address all of the various and sundry topics. Now, I'm happy to give you a very brief kind of recitation of the issues as I see them kind of from the hip right now. One, the first question would be, is the municipal court going to be a court of record or not a court of record? A court of record is one that has a recording device that preserves the statements that are made within the court. The major difference between a court of record and a court not of record is that a court of record must have a licensed attorney as the municipal judge, whereas a court not of record does not have to have an attorney as a judge. Another major significant difference between the two is that if there's an appeal to a court of record, then the appeal is based upon allegations of either a unlawful finding of fact based upon the evidence presented, or a conclusion of law that is in essence arbitrary and capricious in terms of the violation of the law that was cited.
Can you say that last second part again? It's based upon allegations of unlawful finding of fact, or?
Basically an unlawful finding of fact based upon the evidence, or a conclusion of law that does not comport with the evidence. Whereas in the appellate procedure for a court not of record, such appeal would be deemed to be de novo, which I think is fancy Latin for saying from scratch. So the appellate court would hear all the evidence all over again. So determining whether or not you want to be a court of record or not of record creates who you can have as a judge as an issue, creates some issues for appeal. It also then begs the next question as to whether or not you want to have municipal court having its hearings here in the town of Pitkin, or alternatively, the statute does provide that you can have your hearings in a neighboring jurisdiction. I have approached the city clerk for the town of Gunnison, the city of Gunnison, pardon me, and asked if they would at least be amenable to considering entering into an agreement whereby the town of Pitkin could use the Gunnison's court facilities, which is basically their city council chambers. And she responded to me that that would be something that we could probably work out. So that's pretty far down the pipe. Gail Davidson, the Gunnison's city clerk.
City clerk.
So the reason that I suggest that you consider a work session is, quite frankly, you need to make the decision first whether or not you want to create a municipal court, or whether or not you want to try and fly under the radar, but go back and have, quite frankly, me look through every single ordinance that's been enacted and active to look for inconsistencies that need to be addressed. And quite frankly, it needs to be done, one or the other. And so it's your choice. Yes, ma'am?
Would that mean that we basically, our laws really have no no teeth. I mean, if we did that, it would be like, what's the point of the ordinances at all? I mean, it kind of is that way now, but I thought that was the idea. I mean, to me, that was good that we might be able to have a court so that we could maybe get more law enforcement and maybe have things not quite as crazy.
Madam Trustee, you're asking me a question of policy, and I really don't set policy. I try to present
But I mean,
the
if you
different
took
legal
out
nuances.
everything out of the ordinances that said there was no court of law or, any- I mean,
No.
I don't know, that
No
just.
penalties or fines.
Right, no penalties anymore.
No,
What's the
okay, I mean,
point?
I
It's just
think
there
that
for,
you're on the horns of the
guidance.
dilemma. There's a problem that's got to be fixed. You need to choose how to fix it. And I would suggest to you that, quite frankly, having ordinances that make reference to criminal penalties or other sanctions involving municipal court without one is worse than having ordinances that are toothless.
Well, I think we should probably
Yeah.
have a court, I mean, that's what the state wants, that's what the state law says.
That's what the state law says.
I agree, I think we should have a municipal court, and whether it's here or whether it's in Gunnison, and personally, I'd say, with just first blush, it would be better to have one of record rather than not of record.
Yeah.
You know, there's more expense and more, and you could have more, you know, it's recorded, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's recorded. I mean, that's
So
the cornerstone of what a court of record is.
Okay, my next question is, how many municipalities would have a court of no record? I mean, versus the ones that have a court of record?
I can't give you a number, and I can
Seems
contact the Municipal Judges Association and that, but there's not very many.
Right, it's minimal, right?
Yeah, it's, the ones that jump out at me are small towns out on the plains.
Would the municipal court, the judge, be on kind of a time, you know, half a day a month, a day, full day a month, and what are you talking about there? Or as needed, or is that a?
I think that's why we need a work session.
Yeah,
because
I know.
Before you can open all that up, you need the law enforcement officer to enforce the laws that are being taken in court.
Well, that's a piece of the puzzle.
That's the.
But, I mean, what needs to happen first is you guys gotta make a decision. Are we gonna go back and clean up all reference out of all the ordinances? Or are you gonna step forward and say, okay, we gotta create a municipal court? And then once that step is taken, then it's like, okay, now we gotta address the nuts and bolts. And how you pay the judge is, there is some statutory language, and I apologize for not having it with me at present, but given the volume of cases that have been presented to the quote-unquote municipal court in the town of Pitkin, which are virtually nil, you know, I would imagine that it would be payment based upon the actual work done as opposed to having someone getting monthly paychecks. Exactly.
I think we should have a work session.
Yeah, I think we probably need to.
And I would submit to you that the next step would also be to have a work session such that we can craft some type of an ordinance to adopt as quickly as possible so that we can create the municipal court.
Okay. It sounds like we kind of have to, really. Or we have to just make it so everything is voluntary. Really what it boils down to.
Having ordinances that make reference to criminal sanctions or make references to a municipal court without having one, it's not hypocrisy, because hypocrisy actually stands for something. It's lethargy. It needs to be fixed.
Okay, so we need to schedule a work session. I'll get together with the trustees and we'll try to get something worked out and a time when you can be there too, of course.
Just so you, well, because of my past, to publish, you need to publish like 2 months in advance and stuff. Publish ordinances and stuff like that, just.
Okay. Okay, well, as far as this goes, first we have to have a work session to figure out what exactly we're going to do.
And the only thing I would ask schedule-wise is not to schedule it so that I drive home in a raging blizzard like I did last Monday. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Looking into this town's future, talking about whether this is the right time to establish a municipal court or not, when we have had, as the lawyer said, virtually probably no, what's the word I'm looking for?
Officials and places.
Complaints. And we've actually not ever had to, correct me if I'm wrong, approach somebody on that level that has not been willing, because of the nature of this town and the people in it, to comply with those things. But before, just saying, there has been no procedure for some of these things followed that's been set up. For example, I have heard things about my dogs that I have never been talked to about, ever, by anyone, directly. And so it's a very backwards way to accuse someone of something. And until we have a channel, a proper channel for complaints in the first place, where both parties are protected from getting slapped with a ticket, let's say, I just think this is kind of the carts before the horse. I don't personally feel like the problems in this town are to the level that we need to take this step. And the bylaws being toothless, like he's saying, it's not right to have something in there that you can't follow up. I mean, you have to be consistent. There needs to be consistency in everything. But we don't have that right now. So once we get a court started, is it going to get better? Are we going to be hauling people to jail? I mean, we need to be able to have ordinances that people can look at and say, oh, that's a good, it's not toothless because we have respect for each other and we have compassion where it's needed, and we have people that are willing to police their own neighborhoods. And if we had a system in place for holding people accountable better than we do now, so you're not just starting rumors based on things that weren't even true, that would be where I would start.
I think that this is mainly about the state statute that says that we should do this. Is that correct?
This isn't responsive to any existing cases that I'm aware of, ma'am.
Right.
And so I'm only looking at where we're at and saying, okay, I'm calling shenanigans. There's a system that's not working because the system's not in place. And hopefully it won't create a caseload.
Right.
Is it are you discussing all this in response to the rental things?
No, it has not. No, this just happened to come up at the same time. No, this has nothing to do directly with that. No.
So Steve, are we required to make a choice here to have court or not have court?
Well, we're going to get together in this work session, but the statute that Jim showed me said that all towns shall have a municipal court.
Thank you.
Eddie, did you want to?
So on the matter of putting together a municipal court, I would ask you to consider how much is it going to cost and who's going to pay for it. And Sean made a comment about law enforcement. To have a municipal court that works, you have to have law enforcement. Well, if you have a complaint at 9 o'clock at night, you want a law enforcement person to respond, correct? So basically, you're talking about having law enforcement 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So we're not talking about one officer. We're talking about, typically, you're going to have 3, 4, because you're going to have vacation, you're going to have sick leave.
I think you're getting way complicated.
Well, no, let me bring this up. I worked for the city of Gunnison for 23 years. One of the biggest complaints in Gunnison was about animal control. The city of Gunnison, as far as I know right now, has 2 animal control officers. Has it solved the problem in the city of Gunnison? And then you look outside into the county, you look at the town of Crested Butte, you look at Crested Butte South, animal complaints, to try to enforce them. There are some regulations that are very difficult to enforce. And you know, I believe Rachel made a really good comment. And I think back, the town of Pitkin, as far as I know, since 1960 till today, has not had a municipal court. Has there been a major problem in the town of Pitkin because of that?
I think everyone agrees with you, at least I do.
Yeah.
The problem here is the state is saying basically do this or you cannot enforce any of the
They say
laws.
that you-
And that's what I'm trying to point out.
Yeah.
Basically, the laws that we've had, the regulations that have been passed in this town have been basically unenforceable since the town was incorporated, correct? Would you say that, Jim?
I apologize, Eddie, I didn't mean to sound like I was guffawing at you. I've only been here as the town attorney for about 2.5 years.
But as far as
During
the
that time-
regulations, as far as the regulations that you've read and what you're talking about tonight, saying they need to be rewritten, the way they're written right now, they're basically unenforceable for the most part, correct?
There is some significant problems with
Okay, there's
enforcing.
some significant problems that have existed for 100+ years, in all likelihood. I'm not even asking your opinion, I'm just saying in all likelihood, those laws have been on, at least some of those regulations have been in place for 100+ years. What are we looking at? Are we looking at, do we want to become the city of Gunnison? Do we want to become a municipality? Do you want your taxes to increase to pay for these services? Because that's what it's going to take. It's just like talking about putting in a sewer system. If you want to clean up any kind of problems about septic tanks and you put in a sewer system, most of the people in this town won't be able to afford to live here. There'll be a few. The people that have plenty of money can afford to live here and pay that. But most people won't be able to.
Well, we're not going, this is not about a police force and all of that. We just, as far as I know, we haven't had the work session yet, but we can decide what we're gonna do, talk to Gunnison, set up where we can use the court if we want to, have it set down legally, and then if we don't, but that doesn't mean we're gonna have a court every week, that doesn't mean we're gonna arrest people, have law enforcement, it doesn't mean any of that. It just means that we've satisfied a state statute, because we can tell the state, yes, we have set up a municipal court. We have it set up and in place. We're not going to arrest anybody as far as I know. As far as I know, and I have been here all that long, but what I've been told is the only court case in modern history involves the porch that's on the Armstrong's house that's behind me. That's what I've been told. That's what I've been told.
They brought the court out to us. We had it at the town hall, we had a
Okay.
judge, we had lawyers, we had a jury.
Okay,
1988.
is that when it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they just furnished us
No, it
Okay,
wasn't the
well-
county, it was the town.
town, it was our town.
It was a municipal court.
Yeah.
The current, at that time, the county judge, which was Judge Reese, acted as the town magistrate for that trial. It was the town attorney acted for it in behalf of the town, and
Pro and con.
it did exist.
Okay, Juliet?
So I just want to make sure I understand, the municipal court, if it is set up after your work session, it's not going to be so that you can enforce $300 per day fines or put people in jail for breaking rules, right?
We're a small community.
Juliet,
Excuse me, can they answer?
can I respond?
Yes, please.
I have no idea. I don't see there being any changes, but I'm only talking about having a court in place so that if there is a violation and then there is action taken on a violation of an existing ordinance, that there is a protocol to follow. If there are discussions relating to hiring a constable or a neighborhood services officer, and that's what Mr. Balch was referencing, that's what Gunnison has. T. Morrill and Doug Spanner, neighborhood services officers. That's stuff that's kind of outside of what I'm trying to suggest should happen here. And that's, again, policy, and I'm not trying to weasel out of giving you a good response, but I don't talk policy in terms of right, wrong, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying, I think you've got to either set up a court which may or may not have any sessions over the next 5 years. But if it's in place, then you've got the ability to enforce ordinances that reference it. That's all I'm suggesting. And so in terms of, is there gonna be some type of a dark police spirit here? I certainly don't foresee that, but that would be a conversation that would be held by the Board of Trustees in a public setting, and you would have ample opportunity to provide significant input long before anything like that ever came close to happening.
Thank you.
Jesse?
Is a workshop, is it private for the trustees or is it an open meeting?
Open meeting, Jesse.
Thank you.
In your conversation with the city of Gunnison, so they would be willing to make facilities available, is there any possibility of an interlocal agreement whereby they could provide municipal court services for the town of Pitkin?
We didn't get into that far of a conversation. There is somewhat of a conundrum there in that the current Gunnison municipal judge is me.
Two hats.
So I don't think that I could do both. And so
But that is within the realm of possibilities.
oh yeah, in terms of, having the opportunity to hire their clerk to run the machine, certainly possible. Really it also begs the question of when you would even want to consider choosing a judge. Because quite frankly, at some level, if there's no need to have a judge, maybe you wait until you need one before you worry about hiring one. But I think that you need to have a clerk in place, a location in place, if there's a violation, then when do we have some type of a hearing? Be it the third Monday at 7 p.m. or whatever it is. That's all.
Corey?
I was just curious, so whether it's a court of record or court of no record, you still have to have a dedicated officer of some enforcement, is that correct?
Well, I would submit to you that right now, there are officers that are designated to respond to nuisances. We already have that. So would you need cops? Not necessarily. Is that what you're asking?
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of, sort of?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's down the pipe, and like you said, there's gotta be a workshop and everything. I was just curious if that was required in any statute that, if you have a municipal court, you have to have an enforcement officer of some sort that enforces, whether it's zoning, and then do you get into a situation where you can only have an officer that enforces zoning and then for nuisance, or does one do nuisance, zoning, speed limits? I mean,
Have to is a challenging phrase. No matter what happens in terms of if we set up the protocol to have a court, it's not going to change who and what Pitkin is. And so I think that whatever framework is created is going to be mindful of who the people in the town of Pitkin are and what they want.
That it was voted a long time ago that I was the enforcement officer.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not a cop. I've never gone to somebody's house and asked them to do something unless I got complaints from somebody else. If I get complaints from somebody else about a dog or anything else, then I feel like I need to go do something. But I don't go down the street and say, that's wrong, no, I'm not gonna. I could do that all day.
Yes, sir,
The
I
only
understand.
time I say anything to anybody is when I start to hear it.
it was more of an understanding that,
Yeah,
if,
I don't-
if we do go down the route of a municipal court, does your job become somebody that has to be full-time?
I'm not a cop.
Oh, I know, but in relation to
I have not
nuisance-
had the training, and we talked about hiring the constable, but really the hard truth is finding somebody. the sheriff would not let us use any of his people. The city of Gunnison said we couldn't use any of their people. And it would, I just envisioned it as being a part-time position. Where would we find, how far would somebody drive for a part-time position? And you'd have to find somebody who's already had the training. It wouldn't be a full-time job.
Yeah, Bill more than answered my question.
Yeah, okay. Jacob, did you want to say something?
I just was going to mention that I haven't received the post certification quite yet, but I am scheduled to start classes April 15th.
Okay.
So,
Well, what we
how
need.
far would someone travel for a part-time position? I don't know, 300 yards?
Yeah. We need somebody that, really, when we had Charles here, Charles Meredith, we kinda had it good. He didn't go around and, arrest people. He just kinda told them, he pulled up with his car and his uniform and asked them to cool it or go back home and everything was okay. He didn't have to write tickets and stuff like that, and we had it good then. But now we kinda need something, yeah, just having his car. Jesse?
In the past, we had a phone stolen last 4th of July, I believe it
Yes.
was.
Uh-huh.
If we had a municipal court, would that all been handled here instead of in Gunnison like we did this winter?
Well, it depends. If you have, it depends. If there was an enforcement officer that was authorized to write a ticket, potentially it could have been the town of Pitkin. But if it was handled by the sheriff's department last summer, that seems to be perfectly reasonable.
I was very happy that it was handled in Gunnison, and that took all the pressure off of all of us and the grandmother and everything.
Well, let us go ahead and we can go ahead and have our work session, then we'll know maybe more of what we're gonna do and what direction that this is gonna take. But mainly what this is about is satisfying a state statute, is what this mainly is. So. Okay, now we're down to discuss and vote on publishing zoning changes, and I guess I'll turn it over to Jim.
Okay, you have some copies, pages of the wording that pertains to what the recommendation is. Mr. Mayor, I move that the town of Pitkin, Colorado's the zoning code ordinance 1 series 2012 be amended as recommended by the zoning board of adjustment at the March 2nd, 2012 meeting. These amendments can be voted on separately or as one, however you want to prefer to do it. Just like you do with the money at the end of the year when you vote on the mill levy and all that,
Yes.
you can do it all as one.
But if we were to strike something or want to change something, it would have to go back to the zoning board, is that correct?
You can make changes. You are the governing board
Okay.
of the town. So you want to vote individually or you want them as one?
Don't we have to, do we have to post them or?
Well, we're just,
Or we're just,
This is a recommendation from the zoning board to this board.
so the vote would not, because we have to write something else up, right, to change?
Yeah, then you're gonna have to write up or
Or someone
somebody's
writes up
gonna
the
have to write
ordinance.
it up and put it in the, yeah, and publish it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the only,
and that'll be a motion later, but, yes,
well, the only question that I've got is, I did see the minutes of the meeting, but I was just handed this when I got here.
I'm getting ready to make a motion.
Sure.
And if you either want them separate or you want them to vote on them separate, you want them all together. That's the only issue that we've got at this time.
Okay,
So,
like, what I was gonna ask for is maybe some time to read it.
Stevie, I just want to point out that what this thicker one is,
Yes.
we're not here to
These
discuss, the motion is, and I'm making the motion,
Yeah.
So either,
This mayor, this one sheet.
and a motion, it doesn't require a second because 4 people have already seconded at the meeting. So it's coming out of a committee, and I'm giving you a committee report and making a recommendation.
Okay.
So you either want to hear them or don't hear them. If you
Okay.
don't want to hear them, I'll sit down and shut
I'll
up.
listen to your recommendations. I'll listen to your recommendations.
You want them all at once, or?
Yes.
Okay. The recommendations are as follow. This is on page 2, if you want to look at the pages in the zoning code. Add to section 3 definitions number 14, and which does not significantly increase noise, fumes, or odor, or traffic. It would then read, home occupations, any business use performed on a residential property by the inhabitants thereof, but which is incidental to the residential use and which does not significantly increase noise, fumes, odor, or traffic. Okay, page 3. Add to section 3 definitions alphabetically. Short-term transit rental lodging, rental of a residential structure or part thereof for any 29-day period or less is considered a commercial business use. Page 4. Add to section 3 definitions alphabetically. Long-term permanent rental. Rental of a residential use of structure, part thereof, where the occupants are primarily permanent in nature for any 30-day period or more. Non-transit. Okay, page 6. Add to section 7, principal permitted uses. A resident, low-density residential. Number 5, long-term permanent rental. Rental of a residential use of structure, part thereof, where the occupants are primarily permanent in nature for any 30-day period or more. Non-transit. Page 7. Change section 8, conditional use, part D, short-term transit rental lodging, if approved by the zoning board for a maximum use appropriate to available water, sewage, and off-street parking. Okay, page 8. Add to section 10, permitted accessory uses. Part A, resident district. Number 5, home occupation is defined in section 3. Home occupation, any business use performed on a residential property by the inhabitants thereof, which is incidental to the residential use, which does not significantly increase noise, fumes, odor, or traffic. Page 8. Add to permitted accessory uses, section 10, part B, business district, number 1, long-term permanent rental. Rental of a residential use of structure, part thereof, where the occupants are primarily permanent in nature for any 30-day period or more. Non-transit. Number 2, short-term transit rental lodging. Rental of a residential structure, part thereof, for any 29-day period or less is considered a commercial business use. This part, section number 2, will be reviewed after receiving the CAS study, which you have a copy of Dave's presentation that he made on the last page. And further, recommend that you remove section C in the appendix, which is the ordinance before reprinting. That's the septic section C. The septic ordinance be removed before it's reprinted. Also, with single-spaced document and printed on both sides of the page when it's reprinted. Okay, Mr. Mayor, that's the motion that you have. And it doesn't require a second, so.
Okay.
So it's a motion to accept recommendations, right?
I've got a question for John on the short-term rental.
There's no question.
Said approval by the zoning board with available water, sewage, and off-street parking? Is that all it would be limited to? Or would it be to whatever set of rules we wanted to make to it?
Well, that goes into the delay after the cast. Was decided that you would wait until the cast study was available, and then you would go back and review it, and then you can add all the requirements that you want in the ordinance, or not add any. So right now you have a motion on the floor, and that's
Okay.
up to you.
Any of the trustees have any other questions?
This is not to make it permanent, this is just to accept this temporarily to further information, correct?
Okay, but this, yeah, after this, after you accept this recommendation, then the trustees have to put together the ordinance and to make those changes, then it has to go, becomes a public meeting, and you have to publish it. And if you accept it, then I'll make a motion to that effect. But first you have to vote to accept it. Or reject it.
Okay.
And I think all it needs is a simple majority.
Okay. Are we ready to take a vote then? Does everybody want to study this? Or?
This is, yeah.
But this will be published, and then the public can
No, we
comment.
need to,
This is just a vote to publish it.
Which is, it's a vote to accept or reject it
Yeah.
at this point,
his
not to
recommendation
publish
is
it.
not to publish. This won't get published until we have another vote.
We're gonna have another vote.
This is not law.
This is just a recommendation from the zoning board to this board of trustees.
To wait for that study to come in before I go anymore.
Okay, well,
So, okay, I need a little further clarification. So if we approve this,
Okay.
then this is published, right?
Well, then if you approve it, then it's your choice to publish it, and it'll be according to statute.
Right. And then what about this other study?
Well, whenever it comes out, then you can, just like any ordinance, you can go back and
Okay.
review the ordinance and make changes. amend it.
So this would become the new zoning, this would be revised zoning ordinance.
It'll be the ordinance, right.
That's applicable at that point.
At that point. Which was the request from this board.
okay.
So do we need a motion? You've made
Yeah.
a
I
motion.
made a motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to make a comment, Eddie?
Yes, I would like to make a comment. I believe that whether you volunteer to serve on the zoning board or any other volunteer board for the town, or you're elected to the town council of Pitkin, or a county commissioner, or a state representative, or the Congress of the United States, you are there to represent your constituents. And the views and concerns of all your constituents should be equally considered. In Pitkin, we have a somewhat unique situation. A majority of our property owners are not full-time residents. I don't believe that should disqualify these property owners who pay taxes, and their taxes I don't believe are allocated on a part-time basis. I believe they should be provided the opportunity to vote on important changes that can affect their personal private or their personal property rights, these changes to the zoning regulations for the town of Pitkin. A question. I would like to ask, who's being injured by allowing short-term rentals in the residential zoning of the town of Pitkin?
Judging by the letters I got, quite a few. And let me just say this, it is currently in the zoning ordinance that you, according to the town attorney, that you cannot do short-term rentals in residential. We are changing nothing. We are merely clarifying it. We're not changing anything. Currently, it is illegal. We're not changing it. We're just making it so people can read it in black and white. That is all.
So these clarifications that are being presented by the zoning board wouldn't it be a good idea, don't you think it's fair that everyone would get to see a copy of these changes that are, these revisions, these clarifications that are being presented? Do you think it's fair that the property owners in the town of Pitkin should get to see them? Whether it affects residential or commercial property, either one?
Yes,
That's why it'll be published.
yes.
Since this all, last month or so, I've been contacted by 16 property owners in town. It's been face-to-face or phone calls. And of the 16 properties, and then of course it actually is 30 people or something, but 9 of them are second homeowners. They're not full-time residents. They are basically summer residents or second homeowners. 7 are full-time. Of the 16, one person said they were undecided. The other 15 said they do not want short-term rentals in residential zones. And every single second homeowner that contacted me said, I don't want it. And so I think I feel very comfortable. We are, everybody's contacting me.
Can you just give me, so you're saying 16, you've been contacted by 16 property owners. How many properties are there in the town of Pitkin?
Well, it's a lot more than that, obviously.
But
I'm just saying, my sample size, Eddie.
Right, your sample size, and I guess that's what I'm trying to point out, is I would like to see an effort by the town to reach out to all of the property owners in the town of Pitkin.
That's why Susie sent every single person a letter.
And we got very few answers.
She's not responsible for the U.S. Postal.
Jesse, put your hand up.
Matt, am I the only one for the short-term rentals?
I have 2 letters, I have 6 letters, 2 or 4 short-term rentals, you and your brother-in-law, and every other, the other 4 against it. What? No, I said, I have talked to in person or on the phone.
Okay, my little letter, I'm sorry.
16 people. I should have said, I also have 6 letters, 2 of which are 4. And I guess yours is 4, it doesn't really say that, but.
Well, I tried to be very positive and compliment.
Richard's definitely said it was 4. The other 4 I have are against it. I mean, there's an overwhelming silent majority here. I mean, I know there's some there's 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people out here that are very loud about it, but there's a silent majority that doesn't want it.
I've heard more people say that they would like it than wouldn't like it. That's the letters and phone calls I've received.
May I say something? I think that Mr. Balch's question is appropriate, but if I understand the process correctly, he would like to see what James suggested in writing. Should the board move forward, they will then be required to hold a required public hearing that has 15 days notice, and that notice would identify what the proposed changes would be. Therefore, they would be in black and white. People would have the opportunity to see that, then attend the public hearing and make comments, and then the board could act from that point forward. Now, you ask, how would a person in a residential area be injured by a short-term rental? Lacking the enforcement procedures, I have a second home in Pitkin. I spend here a lot of time. I have no interest in a trailer load of ATVs pulling up next door, loud people, inconsiderate people, being in my residentially zoned property. I live in Garden City, Kansas. I live in an R1 zoning district. I know specifically what the permitted uses are. I think many other second homeowners live in a similar situation and would not expect adjacent to their home to have a short-term rental. We have a number of people who live here permanently in Pitkin. This is their home. I think they have every right to be opposed to having a short-term rental in their residential district.
And I guess, and I didn't get to finish my comments, and one of the things I wanted to say, what are you proposing? The purpose of these proposed changes, is it to address, and it seems like this is what I've heard, is to address private wells, septic systems, parking, noise, and private property rights, and you mentioned ATVs. I guess my concern is are we using a zoning thing to try and address some of these things that I don't see as zoning issues? I don't see it as a zoning issue to address ATV use.
It's a zoning issue if it's next door to me. I live in an R1 residentially zoned district. I
So-
shouldn't expect to see a short-term rental next door.
But is it a question of whether it's a short-term rental? Or
It's
is
a
it a
zoning
question of
rental.
if the owner comes in and has ATVs, is that any different than if it's a short-term rental?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Yes.
That's who comes here.
What's
for
the difference?
short-term.
It's a nonstop process, because it's
It's
short-term
added
rental,
to
week
what
after
we
week
already
after week
are.
after week after week, versus the normal.
Okay, Juliet, and when I call on somebody, you basically just get one comment. We're not gonna go back and forth. But you can go ahead and then I'll get, and then Levi's next.
My understanding was that my husband asked the question if you received, as trustees, our letter. Our letter was definitely for people having property rights. So Matt, you're saying you didn't get our letter?
I didn't know, I didn't see what.
Okay. Just wanted to know.
See, it's been.
Levi?
That's kind of the same thing I was going to say, because I can guarantee you there's a lot more than 16 letters that were written, and I guarantee you didn't all read mine and Rachel's letter. So,
Well, I gave them to the zoning board.
okay, but did they read them?
It's not my, they did.
That's all I'm saying, is that you're not actually listening to your constituency if you're not reading the letters. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not on the zoning board.
That's,
They were just
we wrote
the
it to
trustees.
the council as well.
Yeah,
so.
trustees and mayor.
Yes.
It's not
I just have a
germane.
question for the attorney. I had my attorney read the zoning regulations, and there's nothing in there that he could find on short-term rentals that it's against right now. Can you please clarify that?
Yes, and this is a statement I made at the last meeting.
I
And
wasn't
at the
here.
zoning meeting, and I didn't say it to be critical, as it stands right now, you can have an in-home business, provided that the business is incident to the residential use of the home. And having your computer and your doing work at home is very different than having third-party members of the public coming in and occupying that as basically outsiders in your home. The whole purpose of a residence is to live and to have your family there, or your non-family, whatever it is, but not to have folks coming from out of town to live there for a day, a week, a month. Well, actually, that's not true, because a month they could rent it for a month.
But that's not still considered a commercial business if you're not under an LLC or anything.
It's not consistent with residential use, which is
It
what
is.
And that's your attorney's perspective, and that's great.
Can you clarify that again, for those that weren't here last time?
Could you find that, Kathy?
Sure. Home occupation on page 3 of the zoning code is listed as any business use performed on resident.
Mayor,
I'm sorry, I can't.
quiet this so I can hear you, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Was I not speaking loud enough, Jessica?
No,
That was really loud.
No.
Too much noise, thank you.
Okay, so I'm on page 3. This is, I believe, definition 14. It says, home occupation, any business use performed on an resident property by the inhabitants thereof, but which is incidental to the residential use. And then when one goes to principal permitted uses and/or actually section 8 conditional uses sub D, any variances granted shall, that's not true, home occupations, any variances granted shall be for 1 year and subject to review at the end of each year of continuance of such home occupation. So it's that you can have a home business if it is, as defined, any business use performed on resident property by the inhabitants thereof, but which is incidental to the residential use.
And you have
But
to
it's
have a
still-
variance for that?
I believe, Candy, that they vote on those annually,
It's a conditional.
It's a conditional use, and that's
Yeah.
something that really needs to be cleaned up, I do believe.
But it's still a residential use. That's what I'm not.
By the inhabitants thereof, that's incident to the use of the residents. Inhabitants are not folks that are coming in to visit.
And it's being changed, okay?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
some of this isn't germane to the motion.
yes,
So I
well,
would,
But nonetheless, it's important that folks get the opportunity to speak.
but,
This is something that's.
but this is, but your question is the reason why we are doing this, to put it in black and white, so every time somebody asks us, we don't have to have the attorney read it to them. This way, it will be, says basically the same thing, but it's in black and white and spells it all out.
Except, I just want to say one thing. I thought last time the way you explained it was that it looks at the permitted usage, the permitted uses in residential versus the permitted uses in
Well, that is also
in business,
true.
you know, where it's listed in business that you can have motels and hotels. Now it will be listed in, with these new changes that that the zoning board proposed, it'll change it so that listed under business district will also be short-term rentals. But it won't be listed in residential, just like right now, hotels and motels are not listed in residential. That's where we're not changing it, we're just changing the wording a bit to make it more clear, because, and it is still difficult, because then nowhere does it say, this is not permitted, rather it says what's permitted in residential and what's permitted in business.
So,
But you,
may I ask a question, and I pose this to the board? If that's an issue, why don't you put not permitted uses and explicitly state in black and white?
but
You could do that too.
right, but can you think of every, I think the point is you permit certain things. You can't, we didn't say we could have a manufacturing facility in resident. We didn't not permit, I mean.
That's correct.
You can't define everything that might happen in the world. I mean, so you say this is what is permitted.
Yeah.
possible.
Right. Rather than if you
Yeah,
say we can't have a strip club. You're right. Or a munitions factory. I mean, you can't put everything.
Chris?
As of date, are there any variances that are in effect in the town of Picton?
We are, I meant to say something earlier. We've been remiss in voting those. We're gonna do it at the May meeting.
Usually July.
Do we do it at the July meeting?
I thought it was the July meeting, the variance.
You're talking about the conditional use.
Well, yes.
Yeah,
We'll
the
vote on it.
variance goes to property, that's a whole different thing.
Yes, we are, we have to, in the past, we've just kind of done them by voice vote. I want to get an official list of them. I want to have a list so we know exactly what we're voting for, and we are. What's that? What?
New letters.
Yes.
That they get every year.
And we're supposed to get insurance riders.
Well,
on-
we've been getting insurance,
Yes.
but that's for variances, not for conditional
Right.
use.
Mayor,
Yes.
I think you're talking about temporary uses, not variances. I think there's a lot of confusion around these terms. And your zoning regulation provides for conditional uses. I think there's 4 or 5 spelled out that are listed. Those to be approved by the Board of Trustees. The variances relate to lot size, setbacks, unusual geographic features of the property that might, if there's strict enforcement of the ordinance, cause an undue hardship. That's what a variance is for. When you're talking about these other uses, they are temporary uses.
Right.
And that's what you apparently
That's what we're
periodically
gonna vote.
approve.
Yes, we
Okay,
have
well,
several of those.
I just think there's been a lot of confusion around some of
Yes.
these terms.
Right, and variances is for a request for a conditional use that does not comport with the ordinance's terms.
Like if
No,
you get.
no, variance has to, you read your regulation,
Well-
it's about setbacks,
It's like.
Right,
Lot
what I'm saying in
size.
terms of a conditional
Those are
use,
variances.
it needs to be approved on an
Yeah,
annual.
conditional
it
use
needs
has to be approved.
It's
Conditional use.
conditional use, I
Not a variance.
guess that I.
But there's
used the
only
wrong word.
specifically about 4 or 5 conditional uses listed.
Yes, there aren't that many of them.
Anything else is gonna be a temporary use that the board can approve outside of the terms of the regulation, and it specifies in there that it's, for a term not to exceed 1 year. And while you're making amendments, you probably ought to redefine temporary uses because it conflicts with what section 9, the definition of temporary uses conflicts with section 9 of the ordinance. So you ought to probably clean that up in the process. Because the definition says not to exceed 14 days, but then section 9 talks about a time period as approved by the Board of Trustees, which may exceed 14 days, so I think that should be clarified.
Okay.
Ms. Julia?
Ms. Juliet?
I just had a question. I know there used to be a bed and breakfast that operated in a residential zone here.
Yes.
And so does the board grant variances for those kind of businesses to operate in a residential zone?
The conditional
Yes.
use.
They're under conditional
Yes.
use?
No, it'd be a
So you
temporary
could
use.
apply for a variance, even with all the changes, you could apply for a variance to run that
No,
kind of business in
you'd
a
apply for a temporary use permit.
Yes.
temporary use. I'm
Be-
sorry, just
The
trying to
same
clarify.
as what the bed and breakfast did.
Okay,
And I think that if the neighbors are all good with it,
then it would be okay?
Respectfully, Steve, I've got to interrupt.
yeah,
It's not just the neighbors. If you're gonna have a commercial use in a residential area, there's a problem.
okay.
Just because your neighbors are okay with it doesn't make it fair to other folks in town that have the same issue, but their neighbors don't like it.
Well, and there's a difference between a bed and breakfast and a vacation home.
The resident stays in his home.
Certainly, there's a number of differences,
Yeah.
but really what I think James was referring to earlier is that right now we're getting a little bit off the track. The issue is not whether or not VRBOs are appropriate for residential neighborhoods, which is certainly a topic for discussion, but this isn't the topic currently being discussed. And yes, Jesse?
Okay. Jesse?
What is the wordage for the wood carver on the lower part of State Street?
That's okay.
The temporary
Yes.
use.
Is that a business?
It's down as a conditional use and we are gonna vote on it, so.
Under what terms has it existed since it was established?
I wasn't here when it was. established.
Surely, when we review this every year and we grant that right, whatever it is, we ought to know what it is.
And Jesse, I think that what you and a lot of folks are getting to is, it needs to be consistent.
Amen. I said that at the January meeting, please. Thank you.
That's all.
Okay, well, okay, I think okay, Rachel, then this will be it.
Thank you, Steve, and I hope that I do everyone in this room justice. When you say that we're off topic, I agree that James is just trying to pass accepting their revision. But I also feel like in the town of Pitkin, there's obviously two strong opinions over this issue that is the revision. It was almost all about tightening down verbiage to make it where it's unclear to some people and their attorneys, to make it significantly clearer against granting the ability to rent your house short term. And I think that what has happened here, unfortunately, since January, is that, sorry guys, I get emotional.
Me too.
Can't hardly tell. I lost my train of thought. I have a good point. Yeah, what's happened here since January is that there has been a biased ruling. I guess what I'm trying to say is that if there were different people sitting on the council right now that were on the other side of this issue, the people sitting here would be that are against VRBOs. If it was, I'm just going to speak plainly, please. As a person that lives here, I feel like most of the council feels strongly against having increased tourist traffic in their neighborhoods in the summer. And if there was a different selection of council members, those that are sitting here that are against the RVOs would be begging to be heard, would be begging to have some representation. They would be begging to have the bylaws adjusted, kind of thing. Right now, I feel like it's being railroaded, and the fact that, Matt, as much as you've heard from people that are against VRBOs, it's pretty well known that how you feel about it, and you're probably attracting those people's input. And the town, if they had addressed this in a problem-solving way from the beginning, without the push and pull of it, we would not feel like we're being unfairly represented. There hasn't been, forget the part-time property owners, I'm sorry, if you just want to go with the people that are here full-time, the council has never officially, I know Facebook side officially found out how the people feel. So if us, the people, are divided on this, what is the process for requesting that your zoning or your ordinances is rewritten so that it is not your views, but also considering our views? Because right now it's being pushed through like, well, we're going to say non-transient, 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 because that is the MO of the council. And there are people here that are for that. Joe, and there are people that are very for that. I happen to be of the opinion that it can be managed very, very well, that it can be done on a year-to-year basis, and that it can be addressed in a consistent way every year. So the fact that we are stopping it right now without looking further into the future on what this could be like for the town is not representing the part of this town that feels strongly for it.
And may I please respond?
Yes, you can.
Ma'am, I'm reading from page 29 of the zoning code from 2012. And it says, application for an amendment to this code should be made in writing and filed with the town clerk. And then it provides the protocol for requesting an amendment to the code.
Thank you for pointing that out.
And I'm not trying to be cute by saying that. If you want, I'll be happy to email you. I'll scan it and email it to you, or you can get it from the town clerk. But there's a specific protocol that's already within the zoning code. And certainly the zoning board will respond to any requests that you make.
So perhaps from the beginning, that should have been the
It's in the zoning
non-transient approach would be to petition this to be rewritten to allow us to do this, instead of attacking it like this. You guys, we don't need to be doing this.
You always unincorporate the town and that solves everything. Take the red pill.
Yeah, well,
Why do we have to even go there? Hold on. Okay.
No, Jacob, it's just that I just threw it out. We're talking
we're
about a lot
gonna-
of stuff here.
I
It's an
think-
option.
I think we're gonna go ahead and, vote this. We can talk about it all night. This is not cast in concrete. We've changed it this time, we can change it again.
Well, you're getting ready to change it. If you accept this recommendation, then you're gonna do exactly what she just said. You're going to advertise, and if that's what the board wants to do, but right now you have a motion on the floor.
Okay.
And you need to.
Yes.
My brother pointed out that the temporary use definition on page 5 of what we have in front of us is inconsistent with on page 7, where it talks about section 9, temporary uses, where it says that such temporary use permit shall be valid only for the period of time granted by the Board of Trustees. That's on page 7. But on page 5, it says temporary use is not to exceed 14 days. And I would think if we're going to vote on this change, that's one change I'd like to see is that number 35, temporary use, should say any use in any zoning district which is temporary in nature with duration to be
No, it's
specified.
Susie. I think we need to vote no.
To vote no?
If you
and
vote
then-
no, because
I
we
thought
are
we
just
changed
voting,
that.
no,
Can't
not
do it
right
right
now,
now.
because we have a motion on the table
Yes.
for
Okay.
these changes. This is
Alright.
what we're voting on. That's all we can do.
Attorney, I think
Do you want me to call for the question? I call for the
Make an amendment to
question,
the
which means
motion.
you're gonna have to
Yes.
vote, then if you wanna vote or not vote, and then vote.
We either have to vote yes, we either have to vote yes, or we have to vote
You
no.
can amend the motion that's been made. There can be a motion to amend the motion.
Yeah.
If that amending motion passes, then the amended motion will then be
I just
voted
think it's
on.
been too hard.
Unless you call for a question. No, for a question, then you gotta vote on whether or not the question.
If Susie was so inclined, she
I
could
know
make
what
a
she-
motion to amend.
I know what she said,
the
because
definition.
I've been through parliamentary.
Well, let's follow the parliamentary procedure.
Okay.
Get it done.
Okay. I guess the way that we're gonna do it is.
It's already, we just need to vote.
We either vote yes or vote no. We have a motion, and it's been seconded by the zoning board. All in favor of accepting these changes, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay,
Two.
okay, I missed the numbers. Who said aye?
I did.
So 3, 4, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's two that said nay,
3 said nay.
3. Okay,
Motion passed.
okay.
Well, we,
We'll circle it. No, just, we could do that.
Okay,
I got a question. Did everybody vote?
No,
Yeah.
that was just the town board.
Okay. Is there only 7 people on the town board?
yes.
Well, there's the mayor and the 6 trustees.
Okay.
And maybe next year you could throw your hat in the ring.
I would be more than happy to.
Oh, yes. You see, we really haven't had an election in 12 years because
No, it's
nobody,
been longer.
maybe
It was like 2008. We had
2001 when my mom stopped. being
nobody
there.
runs. Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to say that Title 31 of the Colorado Revised Statutes, Article 2, Section 111, Part 2 states, quote, "The legislative body of any municipality may, without receipt of any petition, submit any proposed or adopted ordinance or resolution or any question to a vote of the registered electors of the municipality." That would be us. Why don't you guys just let us vote on it?
Well,
Booyah.
you might lose, Juliet.
At
You
least we
think of
would
that?
know what people really wanted.
Well,
You know, next, the election is
It'd
next
be next April.
April, so feel free to put it on the,
yeah,
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
I would like to move that the recommendations be published, noticed, and placed on the agenda for the April 14th meeting.
Okay.
What about that thing
Second.
Pete brought up about that temporary use thing? When do we change
Do
that?
that another year or something.
Amend it later.
Now,
Kick it down the
now
road
that
like
is,
this.
when you do
We have to
this,
vote again, right?
yeah,
To put it on the,
put it on the agenda,
okay.
and that it be published, noticed, and placed on the agenda. Now, to clarify that, then Susie can, as you do that, Susie can make all the recommendations, amendments she wants to make, and then
Okay.
you would vote on that. I mean, all you're doing is saying these changes and any other changes that you would like to make,
We need,
and you're gonna go through this whole process again.
yes, we
Why don't we
need,
include it in this one?
I think we will, when we get it published, we'll put it all in there, and then we'll make those other changes and we'll publish it.
And go through it all.
We need-
We don't have to go through it, we just have to publish the new one with the, I could be wrong. Publish those changes on the new one when I publish it. Or does it just have to have the zoning
Be
recommendations?
this way.
Because it all gets voted on again before, we have to vote on it again to make it law.
Before it's approved as an ordinance, it needs to be voted on.
Yes,
And
it's going to be
before
voted
it
again.
can be made an ordinance, it needs to be published.
Yes.
And that's what the order pending before the board.
Can't I change, or not I personally, but can't we make sure the dates are right? So we're putting in, we're gonna make those changes, right? And
Specifically
so,
that which was
just as changes we
recommended.
can't make
No,
other
you
ones.
don't get to say, well, we want to make these changes and these changes. That's not the thing. At the next meeting, you're going to have a published document, and you're going to discuss it, and there may be things that you want to add to it, and maybe things you want to change to it. But if there are, quite frankly, it should be republished.
And then we republish it again.
Yes.
Okay, we need a motion.
There is
We
a
got the
motion.
motion, Rob.
And it's
We
been
need-
seconded.
Okay, okay. We have a
Publish
motion,
it. Oh,
we have a motion and a second to put this on the agenda for the April 14th meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, it'll be on the agenda.
They do have one back in the kitchen.
Yes, we can have radio, I don't know. Okay, now we will go down to the next item, and that's putting the town meetings on the internet. That was something that Jim said we ought to talk about. Well, that's being put on Facebook by somebody else. I don't like it because it can be edited, changed, or anything else. Yes?
Has anybody seen the meetings that have been put online? That's
I
been
don't
brought
really
up
want
over and
to.
over?
No, I don't really want to.
Well, this seems to come up every time, and I know it's not a personal thing, but if you look online, you can see where you tap the gavel and say meeting starts, you can see when you tap it and ends. There's
Yeah.
nothing edited in the center, so I don't know why that keeps coming up as a
Well,
concern with this.
because it's something that's just possible. Maybe I'm not saying that it has happened.
No, but you can easily tell. I mean, why would somebody bother editing it anyways? Everyone that's, the reason it's being recorded is people can't be here to see the meeting.
Yeah,
So why would we edit parts out?
And the time
beats
signature.
me. How do the trustees feel about
I just
this?
don't think it's necessary. We haven't operated for decades now without being
Well,
recorded.
It doesn't, some of the trustees have told me that they don't feel like speaking out. It really hasn't bothered me. I don't care.
Why should it?
I forgot all about it. It doesn't bother me. I say what I want. Jesse? And Jesse will too.
Yes. My feeling is, why worry about anything as long as we're on the up and up? We have nothing to hide. We can be honest, we can be frank, and it's all right there for the public to see.
I guess the thing would be how it's gonna be done.
It's already hard enough to find people willing to.
If your committee does it, and then you know it's not censored, it's not edited, it's exactly as you want it to be. Nancy is covered every time there's a question comes up. Maybe she didn't write down exactly right. You've got a complete reference that tells you exactly what Cindy, Susie, James, anybody said, moved, seconded, discussed, anything.
Juliet?
I just want to say, if you actually watch the meetings online, they're time-stamped. So if it's skipped from 1 minute and 58 seconds to 2 minutes and 74 seconds or whatever, you would know that somebody edited that. But if you just watch it from the beginning to the end, the timestamp is there. So there's no editing. Why reinvent the wheel when somebody's willing to do it for you?
That timestamp
Eddie?
takes it down.
There are a lot of city council meetings put on TV. Why? Why do they do that? So the public can see what's going on.
Well, I guess.
What I don't get is people don't even come to our meetings unless there's some big issue.
Yeah.
So who's gonna watch it?
We used to have meetings with maybe 2 spectators.
Yeah.
One,
Cindy, excuse me, Susie, sorry. Susie, my work keeps me out of the town quite a bit, and I've been able to stay informed much more by being able to watch it.
On Facebook.
No, the video that
It's on
are
YouTube.
up there.
Yeah.
So I'm not the only one who has to leave the valley to gain or to earn a wage.
No, but it's just kind of like, what's going on here? I just feel really not good about all this. I really don't.
Pete?
Yes, in the last probably decade, local governments have embraced the term transparency. It's become a moving thought amongst many local governments. And if you recall, a few years ago, you kind of patronized me and allowed me to orchestrate a survey that we did
Yes.
of the property owners. And one thing that came out of that, and if you recall, one of the recommendations that was subsequent to that survey was that perhaps the town ought to actually acquire its own website, not rely on pitkincolorado.com, but have the townofpitkin.gov website where minutes of meetings could be posted, ordinances, etc., that promoting transparency, so people could go to that source to find out about local government. And certainly taping of the meetings and making that available on the website would certainly be possible. It wouldn't necessarily be streamed live, I guess is the term. I think Brad said something to the effect that maybe we don't have the capacity to do that right now with the internet in the community, but that might be something that you consider. You've actually got some probably knowledgeable young people, younger than a lot of us, who are very familiar with technology. You might want to establish a committee, have some of those people come to you with a recommendation of how to get the town meetings put on a website, how to establish a townofpitkin.gov website where a lot of this stuff can be made available. I'm not here a lot of the time. I enjoy the opportunity to look on the Pitkin Colorado site and find out what I can about local government, but a lot of the information isn't there. So I think there's a real opportunity there. I know that some of us that are older don't really like the idea of embracing technology, but it's here to stay.
Me? Well, I can see your point there, but I don't see a big need in appointing people when Corey will do it for nothing.
I'd like to, I'll
Yes.
just speak up. I'd volunteer to do this. I mean,
Well,
it's
that's what I just
not any
said.
sweat off my back.
Corey will
It takes-
volunteer, so I don't know if we need.
I mean, it
if we
really-
vote to do this, I don't know if we need anybody else.
This really goes down to, I go home, put it on my computer and just make sure the audio and the video sync
Okay.
up. And then I put it on YouTube at night and it takes all night to upload. I'm not gonna spend my time, I mean, I know it's not a personal thing, but I'm not gonna spend my time editing a video out. I
Okay.
cut off the 10 minutes at the beginning where everybody's sitting here talking, and I cut off the 10 minutes at the end that I forget to
Okay.
turn it off.
Okay.
So it's A, it's not hard. B, I'm not gonna edit it. I mean, why would I? In the effort of transparency, letting other property owners know, that just opens another can of worms. And I mean, I'm volunteering to do this. I mean, I've been doing it. It's not any sweat off my back. It's not hard. It's not anything that any of the town trustees have to take care of. So I mean, we just work out the issue of
I like that.
where does it need to be posted?
Okay.
Pitkin, Colorado, is that acceptable? Because I mean,
Okay.
it's easily done.
We've got a,
pitkincolorado.gov thing.
I do too, because then we can put the zoning ordinance on it, the
Yeah, not the other.
meetings, minutes,
okay,
video.
we've got a volunteer to do this. I guess all that we need is a motion and a second to go.
I'll make a motion, if we need it, I'd make a motion that Cory take the meetings and we put it on either pitkincolorado.com or a new website, townofpitkin.gov.
Okay, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I got a motion from Matt, I got a second from Sean.
I was trying, but think it to have Corey,
Cory,
Take the meeting.
and, or to
meetings.
record, I should say.
Record the meeting.
And put them on either pitkincolorado.com website or a new website that's developed, townofpitkin.gov.
Okay, and Sean was the second. Okay, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor of having Corey to record the meeting, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, I've got 2 noes. And was everybody else a yes? Okay, so that was 5 to 2. You got a job.
Can I add just one more thing?
Sure.
Not that important, but some of the zoning and ordinances are online on pictoncolorado.com, so there's no real
Move them over.
need to
Move them
reinvent
over
the
to a
wheel
new
there.
website.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, so I just wanted to make that because it, you know, I don't know if you knew or not, Rand, but.
Oh, yeah, I knew they
just-
were on there, but people have a hard time
Yeah.
finding it.
So,
Just
I mean,
'cause
it is indeed incomplete, but,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I just wanted to make the point that it is, you know.
Okay, moving down, we're going to, we're gonna vote on new zoning board member, and I have two people. Ramon, would you like to go first? You gave me a letter, and in the midst of all the letters that I received and other things, I forgot to bring it.
I didn't bring a copy.
Well, you want to stand up and say something?
Well, yeah, I just didn't know you needed me to, but the reason I applied is because really of what's going on. You know, I retired now 2 years ago from the county zoning or planning commission. I served on that 8.5 years. And during that time, and this is why I decided to apply for this now, one of the things that we did during that time is we rewrote the entire Gunnison land use ordinance. We rewrote the Gunnison oil and gas regulations. We rewrote the Gunnison Special Development Projects Resolution, which is intended for large projects like a Union Park Trans Mountain diversion type of thing. I understand and can read regulations, and that's about 90% of the problem that's been going on in this town. You know, tonight I heard more misinformation than real information, and that's what's been going on, and I just think that the town needs, you know, some work in that area that I can help with.
Okay, I'm sorry that I forgot to bring the letter
Sorry.
that I had from Levi. Would you like to, he was the other one, would you like to say something?
I guess.
Okay. Wait your turn.
I just was. Sorry, Levi.
Sorry. No, I just wanted to put my name in the hat because I noticed the open position and felt like that I could bring a little bit of an unbiased opinion to the board, and I promise not to bring any personal agendas to the board because that is my #1 pet peeve. So I listen to people's opinions and weigh them equally, and I think that's a pretty darn good
Okay,
quality.
thank you. Does anybody else want to say, Jacob?
Did you receive my mom's letter applying for that position?
No, I did not.
Yes, if it was in the letter, I sent it to you.
I got a letter from her.
She did apply for the open position.
Okay, well, I got a letter from her about the zoning.
I think it came through you, didn't it, Nancy?
I sent it. It's gone.
That came through you.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a letter from Lucinda, and it doesn't say anything about her applying for it.
It might have been in a separate letter. She did tell me over the phone 3 days ago that she fully applied for the zoning board position.
She told me that as well.
Did she?
Yeah.
And she got confirmation that made it to Nancy.
Okay, then that would be, do you want to say something for her, Jacob? I mean,
To Jesse Garrettson, Jared Garrettson, and some other people. I have read to Steve, who did acknowledge my letter, that I request to be considered for the zoning board vacancy. There is one today, tomorrow, or in the future. All I know is my mom was mayor of the town of Peterson for 10 years before Steve, and I frankly think that it would be a good idea to put her on the board because she is a very unbiased opinion towards a lot of things. She's lived here for like 45 years now or something like that. something crazy like that.
Since,
And
75.
one long-term standing resident in the town of Picayune. Is one of two members of the Picayune Community Church.
Let's don't have any talking while we're,
And it's just, I think is a very good candidate. She's very unbiased when it comes to types of things.
okay. And then we have 3 candidates. Eddie?
I'd just like to speak up in favor of Levi. Like, as I mentioned before, I think our representatives should try to consider the input from all of their constituents.
Okay. Anybody else want to say anything?
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, that's all, okay.
I'm definitely on board with Levi's training.
Okay. Sharon?
I don't know if you're handing out ballots or what.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
But does it have to be secret ballot, or can we not see a show of hands?
We usually.
I mean, I don't know the law.
We usually do this,
ballots.
we usually do this by secret ballot.
But is there a reason for, I'm just asking, I don't know the law. I'm just asking why the secrecy.
Just to keep from hurting people's feelings, I guess. Who's us or theirs, I don't know.
In the effort of transparency, I would wonder if you could do it by show of hands. I mean, I don't know the law.
Chair, I don't know.
Jared, can I respectfully say that Obama was big time in transparency, and all of us got to vote secret ballot. I think that is a right that people should be able to do.
I don't know, I was just asking.
Okay, well, let's just do it the way we've always done it, and in the future, if we want to talk about something else, we'll come up with something else. But, if everybody on the board wants to go ahead and vote, I'll turn mine in to you, to the official vote counter. Okay.
And then I'll mix them all up. So Ramon got 5 votes and Levi got 2 votes.
Okay. Come on. Are you sure? It's too late now. Okay, thank you, and thank you, Levi. Okay.
Thanks to Lucinda.
Yes, thank you. Okay, the last thing on the agenda is something that Lisa wanted on there. And I'm not,
Yeah.
about the art walk.
Didn't we already vote on that? That it was
Yes,
okay?
we
need to
did,
give her
but
a
she
date?
wanted, I just,
Yeah, just from 2nd to 4th.
yeah,
And it's, it may not happen, it's just if it's out there, then I know that I have the option.
well, I won't really, every year we have the parade and we close the whole street. Nobody's ever asked if they can close the street. We just kind of close it for them. If you just want 2 blocks closed, I'm sure that we can work that out. I'm sure there won't be a problem. So,
It's July 18th.
July 18th, okay. We will adjourn the meeting at 8:58.